everyone, it is Katie from the Lunar Moon again here today, and I'm doing your weekly reading, and this is also going to be a full moon reading. We've got a full moon coming up around the 12th, depending on where you're at. And so I pulled a couple of cards specifically pertaining to this area in the moon cycle. And so we have the Fool, we have the Death card, we have the Ace of Wands reversed, the Death card is also reversed, and the High Priestess reversed. So it's feeling a little, ooh. We've kind of got this stagnant energy, definitely. Maybe I'm feeling like a little frustrated, maybe even not hopeless. Hopeless is a little too strong, but sort of discouraged. Discouraged is the right word. There's sort of a sensation of you hit the ground, but you didn't hit the ground running, and you're feeling like maybe you should change your course of action because of it. That would be my overall feeling with these cards and how they're talking to each other. Okay, so first we have the Fool card. The Fool card is basically what we have or what we are bringing to this area of the cycle. So with the moon phase, we're looking at a full moon. The full moon is considered to be sort of the climax of the moon phase, the moon cycle. And so this is when the energy is its highest, it's at its strongest. We have the most clarity in our goals and our, what we're working on and what we're doing and our understanding of things. And from here on, everything's going to kind of get a little less intense and a little bit quieter until we get back into that new moon phase. And so what we're seeing is sort of the ending of our planning and the ending of our thought processes and, what manifestations we put into action and what intent we put out there at the new moon. And we're tying together loose ends, and we kind of are trying to wrap up this cycle and get to the next one. And so with the Fool card being our identity card essentially for the new moon, for the full moon in this cycle, this is sort of a reminder of what we started with and what we need to continue with. The Fool card is new beginnings. You're a free spirit. You're kind of rolling with the punches. You're a yes man. You've got these really great ideas, and you're full of curiosity, and you're running towards those ideas, and you're thinking about them, and to no abandon. Like there's no planning. It probably seems like to everyone around you, you don't have a plan. You're just running with it, and it's a little chaotic to a degree. There's sort of this idea that you have this really great idea and you need to take action, and you should. This card is telling you to do it 100%. I feel like every reading we've done since November has sort of been like, you've got the idea, do the thing. And there's been these sort of obstacles of thinking that we have to work through in order to reach the goal of achieving the thing, whatever that is for you. And so this card is telling you, like, last chance, man, do it now. Like, you have, it's going to be harder now than ever, and it's going to keep getting harder. And chances are, if you don't feel confident enough to take action in this thing right now, you are never going to take action in that thing. You're going to let it go and release it until the beginning of the next cycle, where you will probably have revised it or come up with something totally different to focus on. And that's sort of what the full moon is supposed to do, is make you evaluate what intent you put out there and what you're manifesting, and decide if it is really the best time and place for it. Because just because you put it out there doesn't mean the universe is going to give it to you. And if the universe hasn't handed it to you yet, there's a chance that it isn't the best thing for you right now. It's not the right time or place, and it's best to just release it and let it go so that you can move on to something that's better for you now. And so the Fool is telling you, if you still have that thought or that idea in your head, and you still feel like even just the smallest amount of inspiration or passion about it, take it, run with it, do the thing. Do the thing now. You're gonna hit nothing but trouble and obstacles from here on out. Like, just do it now. So we should be embracing this concept as we move into the end of the cycle. This is the roll with the punches card, the yes man card. You're excited and ready to take action on an idea or project, and you should, absolutely. This card is telling you to do it. There's a sensation that you don't really know where you're headed, and no one else seems to think that you have a plan, and that's okay. That's not necessarily the worst thing. There's a lot of potential right now for you. So as long as you stay curious and you're willing to make adjustments as you go along, then you should take action and get started, because nothing is perfect in the beginning stages, and really, unless you get started and start working now, you're not going to get the experience you need to refine and perfect what it is you're working on. So that is what the Fool card is telling us for this particular reading. Next, we have the Death card, and it's reversed. So the Death card is also a new beginnings card. All of these cards represent a new beginning, so there is still that sensation of that big transformation or that big change that's coming up ahead. And it all, to me, feels like it's kind of pertaining to the new year, with the new year coming around the corner. And there is resistance. But for all three of these cards, we have resistance to this change or this new beginning. And I think with the Death card, I think it's pertaining to our spiritual health more than anything. It's a really busy time right now, and I think we're all sort of just going through the motions, and we're not really paying attention to how that's affecting us or what we're working on or our current situation. And so the Death card is telling us to stop resisting. You might have this feeling that you want to give up what you're working on because you feel like it's just gonna fail, like the way everything else has up until this point. Or you might, just kind of the feeling like, well, it doesn't matter, like nothing's going to change, like everything's just gonna happen the way it always happens. I don't know why I got so excited about this new thing, like nothing ever really changes. And so there's this big resistance to like your new way of thinking, because it's kind of scary, like it leads you into the unknown, and anything that's unknown, like we try to avoid as much as possible, right? Just instinctively as humans, I think. And so we can't let that prevent us from making the change we need to make. So it's important not to become stagnant in this stage in the cycle, because this is what's going to make us stop what we're passionate about. We're going to take that inspiration, that creativity that we were given, and we're just going to throw it out the window because nothing really ever changes, does it? Which isn't true. It's definitely not true. So there also might be like a feeling that we don't want to share what's going on in our head, this big change in thinking, and we want to wait until it's completely finished and perfect before we do. And so as long as you keep working towards what you're working towards instead of letting it go and just giving up on it, that's okay. Like, you don't have to tell everybody what's going on in your head right now, or if they're not asking, they're probably not thinking about it. You don't need to worry about them, and you don't need to share it until it's finished, and until you get comfortable with it, at least, because nothing's really ever finished, is it? Otherwise, it's stagnant, and that's sort of the obstacle we're running into. If you're waiting for it to be perfect, nothing's ever going to be perfect, and so you're just going to keep sitting there and waiting and waiting. You don't have to share it with the people around you if that makes you uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean that you need to give up on it too. Like, it doesn't need to be this huge secret that looms over your shoulder that like you can't even work on it unless you're totally alone, or you have to have that be your only task, otherwise it's never going to get perfect to the point to where you can talk about it again. So I'm kind of getting that feeling too. You will get to a point to where you're okay with talking about it or sharing it with people, and you might have already started sharing it with people and it's not going how you planned it to go, or you did run into a few obstacles and now you're super embarrassed about it because you feel like you gave people your expectations of a project, and now you don't really know where it's headed with that Fool energy, and that is making you kind of want to give up on it or throw it out the window. And that's okay. Like, it's okay if things don't go as planned. Almost nothing goes as planned. So if the opinions of others is what's stopping you from continuing your work, then are you doing it for yourself, or are you doing it for them? Really, you're doing it for you. So if they're that worried about it, or they're going to be, if they're going to ridicule you to that extent just because something didn't happen as you thought it was going to happen, probably they're not the people whose opinions you should be valuing right now. And it's that should be your reminder right there that you're doing this for you, not for them. When we move on to the Ace of Wands card, this is also reversed, and it is again this feeling of just discouragement you're bored, that maybe the passion's not there anymore, or you feel like you just don't have the energy to put into it because it takes so much energy to make a big change. We might feel like we have hit some obstacles in our work and it's been kind of hard for us to get to where we felt like we would be by now. Or it might just be hard for us to express the ideas that we have. Maybe we still have all this passion and energy and we don't really know how to translate it to people. And so we're kind of feeling lost or stuck there in that way. It could be that there's something interrupting us, interrupting the schedule that you had for it, or interrupting the timeline that you thought you'd be on, or just any general obstacle that's kind of set up and it's making you feel a little disoriented and discouraged. And so this card is just reminding you that you don't have to have everything perfect right at the beginning. It's a pretty solid message all around for this reading. We had this really big idea of transformation and change in our last couple of readings, and we had a lot of energy and excitement about it, and we were running into it head first with this full energy here. And it's, you run into problems. It happens. That's okay. And just because we're getting a little disoriented or maybe feeling a little discouraged about it doesn't mean that we can't stop and evaluate what has gone on to make us feel this way. Maybe forgive ourselves for taking a little more time than we thought it was going to take, and kind of readjust and reassess our plan of action. And we just a lot of energy and Wands energy going on. It's a lot of big ideas. I feel like we have a lot of big ideas in our head right now, and that's a big part of that inner transformation that's coming around New Year's, is this big idea. We have all these big ideas, and what are we going to do with it? We know we want to execute it, we know we want to perfect it, and we want to share it, and we want to identify with it and make sure that it's true to ourselves. And at the same time, we don't really know how. And so we keep hitting these roadblocks of this is so great, how do I make it work? How do I make it happen? I don't know. And so maybe try a bunch of different stuff. If you can't come up with anything and you're feeling mad or frustrated about it, take a different approach. Try it through a different lens. Try looking at it through a different lens. Maybe you thought of something and you thought it would make a great book, but now that you're getting to the point of writing it, this isn't really a good book. Maybe it would make a good video instead. Maybe start talking about it. Maybe it would be a really cool piece of artwork, or it's a song that you've written, or maybe you've created this idea for a business, or a way that you can have better communication with your friends and your family. It really could be anything, whatever this big change in your life is going to be. And try changing what you thought it was going to be in the first place. The idea is still there. So maybe changing your execution is what is going to improve, this obstacle that you keep hitting, or this stagnation that you keep feeling in the situation. If it's something that's more of inner work, or affecting your personality, maybe your mental health or your relationships and your communication skills, maybe your route of action needs to be finding a guide or an aid, or a professional, perhaps a therapist or somebody to talk to. It could also mean finding somebody who's more of a life coach to help keep you motivated, a coach in general. Perhaps you're trying to work more on your physical health and improving that. Whatever that change is, or the thing is that we have been talking about for a couple of weeks now, finding a different approach or a different aid or a different tactic to get working on it might help us through some of the roadblocks that we're hitting. And that's the feeling I'm getting from this card. And then finally we have the High Priestess card, and she is reversed. Not that this is a bad reading. This isn't a bad reading. I feel like this is sort of normal. It's a normal function. We have an idea, we have something we're excited about, we want to execute it, and so we start executing it, and there's a couple of things we didn't really think about, or some surprises that came up that halted our improvement or halted our productivity. And so now we're sitting and we're like, but is this a good idea? And we're starting to second guess ourselves, and maybe second guess putting time and effort into it. And that's okay. That's normal. That's totally normal. And the High Priestess card it goes right in line with the rest of what we're talking about, specifically in the idea that we are questioning ourselves now. Ourselves in particular, our inner selves, our truest selves. And I'm feeling that perhaps there is a lot of external, maybe communication, there's an external source of energy that is specifically making us second guess ourselves. I think there might be some people in our lives that we are letting their opinions sort of rule us. Maybe there are people in our lives who don't think that it's going to be successful or think it's a waste of our time to put effort into this thing. There might be some people who are a little skeptical, perhaps, and it's making you feel a little skeptical. Or it might just be that there's somebody maybe we're doing a bit of our transformation or a change for that person. And so we're looking at it through the lens of them instead of ourselves. And the High Priestess is reminding us that no, you are doing this for you first and foremost. And if you are not doing this for you first and foremost, then why are you even doing it? What does it mean for you and your identity that you're letting the people around you change who you are as a person, like how you're executing your communication or, how you're behaving as a person? So the High Priestess is who we're supposed to be. It's who we are, or our truest selves, without any external factors. And so we need to take a look at what this plan is, or this transformation that's happening within us, and sort of our subconscious, and what are we letting affect us subconsciously that's preventing us from accessing that true self of ours. Like, we identified our true selves recently, and we identified our goals and our reasonings for those goals, and we feel pretty confident in them to a degree, but where are we losing sight in that idea? Like, where are we losing sight in who we are and what we're doing and why we're doing it? So you may be feeling external pressures right now that are causing you to question yourself or your instincts. You might even be feeling a little bit of paranoia about the people around you, maybe what they're thinking about your transformation or this new task that you've taken on. And you should be considering why you're so worried about it. Like, examine why you're so worried about these people and their opinions. Because the High Priestess is essentially who you are without any external influence. And so I hate getting interrupted. The High Priestess is essentially who you are without any external influence, and so you should be examining what's preventing you from being that version of yourself, and specifically just trusting it, like trusting your instincts, trusting who you are, trusting your reasoning, not worrying about anybody else. Life is going to be more fulfilling and easier if you stop resisting your true self, or the High Priestess, essentially. There's a lot of people out there to please, but if you're not pleasing yourself first, then their happiness isn't going to bring anything to you. In fact, it's only going to bring you resentment. You're going to be resenting their happiness because it's at a cost, and that cost is who you are as a person. And so the High Priestess she's telling you, hey, things got a little hard, you hit a few obstacles, I know you're second guessing yourself, but you shouldn't let the ideas or the opinions of others be the reason that you're second guessing yourself. The only person that you should be trying to please right now is yourself. To a degree. I mean, obviously, like, we don't want to focus on ourselves at the cost of others either. Like, we should still be within harmony in our relationships and the people in our lives and the people around us. So, but that is what the High Priestess is saying. And then we have, for our oracle card, we have the Shamanic Healing Oracle deck here. We got Ancient Wisdom. Ancient Wisdom is the card that is telling us to come to peace with who we are and what we have to offer. I did want to read the page for this card, so I'm going to pull that up. But I think this goes perfectly with the reading. Just to reevaluate and re-examine our course of action and make sure that we are serving ourselves and trying to make this transformation or make this project or idea work for us, and live it through our truth first so that we can share it with others without feeling insecure or worried or scared about it. And the Ancient Wisdom card is supposed to guide us in how we can make that happen more successfully for us. So it says here, nature is the perfect place to center yourself and ground out any excessive noise in your head. In nature, all secrets of the universe are held, from the fiercest energy of a raging sea in a storm to the nurturing and loving energy of 100-year-old grove of trees. Get out in nature and listen to what she has to tell you. There is much to learn from nature. Trees just want to be trees. They are not trying to be boulders. Deer are just deer. They accept that. Wolves are wolves. They know no other way. They do not try to get an extreme makeover to become a bear. This energy vibration can be so different than the human experience. It is pure love, non-judgmental, and acceptance. When you tap into the ancient wisdom of the natural world, you find peace within yourselves. You get to know thyself. By drawing this card, you are being asked to come to peace with who you are and what you have to offer the situation. So I could not have asked for a more perfect card for this reading. So it seems maybe a little negative, but I think really what's happening here is we're being honest with ourselves, right? Like we had this really cool idea and we're really excited for the new year because we want to be this person instead of who we are now or who we used to be. And that's great. It's awesome. You should always try and strive to become a better version of yourself and make change. But it's not going to go perfectly, and these changes don't happen overnight. And so I think this reading is telling us different ways that we can examine maybe some of the obstacles that we're going to or have started to run into, and just remind us that we have all of the answers for these obstacles. Like we have the solutions for them. We just have to look at ourselves first. Not worry about the world around us, not worry about the people around us, not worrying about the opinions of others or, be caught up in paranoia or fear about it all. Be yourself, do what you're gonna do, just do you, and you will probably have no problem at all transitioning into this change or transitioning into these new beginnings that the universe seems to be bringing us in abundance this year. For 2020. So that is your weekly reading. I really hope that it resonated with you or said something that you needed to hear, or maybe within it somewhere, even if you disagreed with me, that there was a message that you could pull from. I would love to hear what you thought about the reading. Please let us know in the comments below what you are thinking when you are listening to this. And go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hang out on our channel so that you can get the rest of our readings. We're going to be doing a yearly reading soon, probably within the next week or so, and instead of a monthly reading for January. And probably a pick a card reading for Yule time too, so make sure you subscribe so you can get those and click that bell so that you get alerted when they go live. And I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for letting me read for you. It is an honor, and I'm so glad and happy to be doing it, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and have a good one.